So I'm gonna have to establish some background before I get into the main topic of the video, which is how the ASMR community is being completely ruined and is seen as a total joke at this point. So at this stage in time, the ASMR community on YouTube is slowly verging farther and farther away from what ASMR actually is scientifically. For those of you who see ASMR content online but don't really understand what it actually is, you probably perceived it in one of two ways. Either you thought, oh, I guess these people watch these videos to relax or get more calm or get to sleep or something. Or you thought of it as a bunch of desperate dudes who lack female attention and therefore want to feel intimacy in any way they can. And I wouldn't blame you for thinking that. The amount of videos where these girls pretend to be the viewer's girlfriend or something is ungodly. There are so many videos labeled as ASMR with an attractive girl and tits in the thumbnail, but this is not what ASMR actually is. And at this point on YouTube, that might sound a bit hard to believe, but bear with me. So ASMR is a really interesting thing. There are a lot of people who don't experience it, and again, I'm sure for those of you out there that don't, you think it's weird as shit, right? And I mean, yeah, it kinda is, but like, the reason the community started in the first place is because when some people are exposed to certain visual and auditory stimuli, they experience a strangely pleasant tingling sensation in the back of their head, like in the scalp area. It's almost like the feeling of getting chills or goosebumps, but instead of being unpleasant, it's like euphoric, calming, and relaxing for some reason. Those who experience it probably get a dopamine rush or something because it feels really pleasant and relaxing, as I said. Nobody knows exactly why this happens or why it's caused by certain things, but the sensation is typically triggered by watching someone softly speaking, whispering, demonstrating something, or sounds like tapping on an object, the crinkling of a plastic bag, etc., etc.
Let us have a look at what is in the box. So, the box comes with a picture of a very small angled looking iPad.
I mean, yeah, it's kind of weird, but I get a tingling in my head when I watch that video. I don't know what it is, dude. Shit like that. That's what ASMR is. So yeah, I experience it too, and it's honestly pretty hard to describe because there's no real scientific consensus about it. I mean, okay, logically speaking, humans have most definitely experienced ASMR for as long as we've been around, but it's only been about 10 years since people started discussing it on the internet and finding out that they weren't the only one who experienced it. There are quite a few examples of people posting on internet forums back in the day where they'd be like, hey, does anyone else feel this weird tingling in their head when someone is like teaching you math or you're getting a haircut or something? And of course, a lot of people were like, no, but some people would reply saying that they thought they were the only one who had that feeling, and it was sort of just cool to figure out that a lot of people experienced it. So yeah, that was kind of the birth of the ASMR community online and ASMR in general, considering that before that time, there was no real record of ASMR as a sensation having really ever existed. The reason I'm saying all this is because a lot of people who don't get the feeling of ASMR probably think it's like sexual in some way, or again, just made up of weird people who really want a girlfriend. But trust me when I say that the feeling of ASMR is not sexual, like at all. I mean, some of my first memories experiencing it were when my 4th grade writing teacher would go over how to spell words. And trust me, 9-year-old me was not trying to get with a 62-year-old man who smashed a chair in class because of his anger issues. The reason people figured out they had ASMR in the first place was because growing up, they would get the tingling feeling from being taught in school, getting a haircut, or watching Bob Ross paint, stuff like that.
I'll put some little posts on here. See, there's a little post. There's one. Look at that. Isn't that cute?
If ASMR is sexual, then Bob Ross must be a jacked motherfucker. But anyway, think about this. What if only like 10% of humans actually enjoyed listening to music? Music sets off the reward center in your brain, and that's why we love listening to it so much, but have you ever thought about how weird that actually is? Like, what if a person who didn't get that pleasure from music asks you to explain why it's so nice? You really wouldn't be able to answer very well because your answer would just be, well, for whatever reason, listening to specific sounds in a specific pattern feels pretty good. This is the case with ASMR. You can't really describe it very well to someone who doesn't feel it because you're not consciously controlling the sensation. It's just something that goes off in your brain. However, I do understand why some people think it's weird or don't really get it, because obviously if you don't get the feeling in your head, then a large portion of the community on YouTube just looks like a bunch of people who want to watch attractive women but don't want to go to Pornhub for some reason. This wasn't always what the community was, though. I discovered that the online ASMR community was a thing that existed back in like 2013 2013. Back then, the only people who really knew about the community were the people that experienced the sensation of ASMR and understood what it was. Most people that stumbled on an ASMR video that didn't understand it would normally just be like, why is this guy whispering, get confused, and move on. So the community at that point was full of people who wanted to actually induce the feeling of ASMR. At the time, there were a pretty equal amount of men and women making the videos, and the guys and girls who did it mostly got the same amount of views because the people who watched the videos were looking to feel the tingling in their head through the triggers I described earlier. However, as time passed and as the community grew, many people who didn't understand what it was or didn't experience the feeling started to become more aware of its existence. And it wasn't a problem. A lot of people who don't experience the sensation still would watch the content for relaxation or sleep purposes, and that's still what a lot of people do. However, a demon was slowly growing in the shadows that inevitably infests every online community. E-girls. These girls' intent was not to induce the feeling of ASMR, rather to make guys horny so that they would donate to their Patreons or PayPals. And let me just make this clear, I honestly don't even really blame these girls who come into communities and do this. They see an easy opportunity to make a lot of money and they take it. The real people at fault here are the thousands, even millions of delusional guys who think that if they donate to a pretty girl, they will one day eventually be able to obtain the coochie. The desperate, horny guys are the ones that are really enabling this to happen and destroying these communities. I don't even think that this is even that much of a bad thing in a lot of communities, because if you want good content, you're still going to be able to find it, and yeah, that's still the case with the ASMR community. It's supply and demand. I'm not a fan of how this happens, but clearly there are a large amount of dudes out there who prefer to watch a girl twerk and barely play a video game rather than watching a guy or girl actually work hard to deliver content. It's just how it is. There are a lot of desperate guys out there, and due to that demand, many communities will become populated with e-girls. It's happened with so many different communities based around hobbies and interests. The internet is full of a lot of horny dudes, and if an attractive, scantily clad girl shows up in a community, it's very likely that she will build a following. And again, it's ultimately those dudes that are enabling this decline in overall quality of entertainment on various platforms and in various communities. But again, I don't normally care about that stuff that much because good content is still very plentiful and you can find it if you want it. However, it is a major issue for the ASMR community because of the fact that people are going to associate it with something that's not really what it is. So if people see an e-girl on Twitch playing a video game and constantly adjusting her bra on purpose or something, they're not going to think that video games and gaming are like a sexual thing. It's clearly just people taking advantage of that community in a way where if they know they're sexy, they'll get more viewers. If you see a YouTube music reviewer suddenly start twerking to a song, you're going to know that they're just seizing an opportunity to make money from a bunch of desperate guys, but you're not going to associate music with sex. Like this girl who makes a bunch of hip-hop videos and then also does a Blueface Tatiana workout. Oh yeah. But obviously, music's a pleasurable thing, but everybody knows that it's not sexually pleasurable. The problem is, though, most people don't even really know what ASMR is. That means that when this happens in the ASMR community, a lot of people aren't going to be able to recognize that that is not what is representative of ASMR itself. Discussion and communities centering around it have only been around for about 10 years and have only been popular in the last 5. So when people see a bunch of e-girls populating the ASMR community, especially if that's your first impression of ASMR, some people are going to end up thinking it's sexual. It's too early in its lifespan to already be getting this amount of fucking girlfriend roleplays or chicks shoving bananas down their throat. Due to the format of ASMR where it's usually just somebody softly talking or whispering about something or messing with an object, it is such an easy thing to make that a lot of e-girls look at ASMR and see dollar signs. You can make an ASMR video in like 20 minutes and it doesn't even matter if you do a good job actually triggering the ASMR or not, because now there's so many horny dudes who watch quote-unquote ASMR that it's pretty much guaranteed to get a lot of views. And that's why advertisements for burger joints or like Bud Light will have like a model in a bikini trying to be sexy while eating the burger or drinking Bud Light or something. In a lot of cases, sex sells. When I thought about the topic for this video, I read some articles speculating about what ASMR could be scientifically, and it was a lot of speculation from people that don't have it. Some speculation was that it was sexual sheerly because of the fact that the YouTube community has been taken over by thoughts and horny dudes, bro. Like, articles speculating about it from like 5 years ago don't even mention anything sexual, because back then it was an innocent and pretty like wholesome community. Again, let me just make it clear that I honestly don't even blame these girls for making their money or whatever. To any one of the dudes who watches these videos to get off or something, my message to you is like, why not just go to a porn website or watch live cam girls? Like, why do you guys prefer to watch attractive women on like Twitch or YouTube, where they're not even allowed to get naked or do anything sexual? Like, have your parents just put a block on porn websites from the Wi-Fi and you just don't know how to use a VPN? I really don't understand the appeal, but again, I can't be too bothered about any of this because there's a demand for it and a lot of these girls are supplying it. So many products are associated with sexy women because it makes money. The market gets what the market wants. However, I just wish that the phenomenon of ASMR would not be lumped in with getting a boner, because that is straight up not what it is. To anyone who watched this video thinking ASMR was like sexual or just didn't understand what it was, hopefully this may have clarified some things for you. I mean, whatever, there's not much anyone can do about it, but like, it just kind of sucks that this actual scientific phenomenon that some humans experience is just going to be lumped in with banana sucking ASMR hentai ear licking.